Dennis Quaid is on the show this week, and I really like Dennis Quaid. You know, what a stud, versatile actor, especially because he's playing Reagan now, which I wouldn't have seen coming.
He's got a new movie coming out where he plays Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
And he plays him at every age, basically. I mean, from 30 to the 85 or whatever it was. So yeah,
from 30
it was great
months
to have him. It's like a real movie star. I mean, he came out in the early 80s and he's been just making consistent great stuff. Fun to talk to, super casual. One thing we must say to you, which is kind of humorous, he brought this very adorable bulldog.
Oh, right.
That was lying at my feet and it had its legs out. It was almost like on its back and it was just sort of sleeping, I thought, and snoring. He said, no, I think it was a she. She's not asleep. It's just
Peaches, maybe?
Peaches is just really content. So if you hear kind of heavy breathing, don't think anything's going on.
I was literally looking at Dennis going, are we going to keep going? So anyway, you might hear a low buzzsaw.
Yes.
Meow in the background.
Yes. And we get to talk about The Right Stuff, which is still the favorite movie he was ever part of, which is like this classic first time astronauts. And it was his coming out movie and then he just had all these amazing hits.
Right. Even movies like, I'd say even movies, but like The Day After Tomorrow with Jake Gyllenhaal, I thought was cool. He does good movies. He's been around for a while. Good comedy. He hosted. Great dude. Good looking, which is the most important. And he was a lot of fun. He came in and we did it in person, which we don't always do. And we got to do that.
He has no airs about him. He's just like a casual dude. And I asked him toward the end, are you a pirate or a cowboy? And when you listen, you'll find out his answer.
Yeah. He was married to Meg Ryan. That's another piece of trivia. We had a great time with him. Here he is, Dennis Quaid. 90s paid for that.
90s, everybody, come on over.
Come on, boss.
Dennis, I'm great.
Yeah, come on down.
We all did better. Let me see. The
90s. Are we always recording? We're always recording.
Oh.
What was your biggest financial decade?
The wisdom of McConaughey, ABR.
Always be ready?
Always be recording.
I do. McConaughey as a roller coaster operator. All righty, ride. That's all I got.
Well,
nice and quick.
I guess we'll have to talk about that too.
I know.
So you're still ripped?
You did.
What?
He's still ripped.
I'm vain.
Yeah, are you?
So I'm not going to give it up.
I'm vain. I'm not
vain
that ripped.
too. Can you tell?
Oh, great.
Well, I'm a lighter frame.
This would be VA, Vain Anonymous,
At your
I guess.
peak musculature, were you like 5'10", 180 kind of guy? Because you look like you could beat someone up in a movie.
I'm 6 feet. I'm 6 feet, 180.
6 feet, 180.
Yeah.
So I'm in a movie.
Always have been.
I'm in a movie with Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas, and they throwing punches, and it's just. So my character, I don't know how anyone thinks about me. My punch is like, dink. I go, fuck, guys.
You were in a movie with Burt Lancaster,
yes, I
Kirk
was.
Douglas?
Yeah. Their
that
last
would be
movie.
The Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday reunion.
Basically, yes. Yeah. It was an extraordinary thing to be around them. I mean, mind-blowing and ridiculous.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Especially Kirk.
Oh, Kirk, man.
Yeah. He was in shape when he was in his 90s.
Kirk, he was still doing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He would do like max push-ups, max sit-ups. He had weights in his place. And apparently when the director would go in there, he just wouldn't have any clothes on. I don't even know if it was homoerotic. He just, I don't like to wear clothes. And he's doing push-ups naked. I go, I don't want to see that.
He and Dick Van Dyke.
Dick Van Dyke.
Dick
Jesus,
Van Dyke also was a nudist?
No, he's nearing 100.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I mean, this is a good topic, actually. Actors who make it.
Mel Brooks is 98.
George Burns.
Wow.
Lovitz ran into George Burns in Vegas, and he said, I got 18 months. It got down to like 18 months is what he felt he had. And he died 18 months later.
Was it some cigars? What did he die from?
Well, he was 100.
I know, but was there anything?
Yeah, but there's something that smoking eventually gets you.
Yeah, see, I told you, smoking kills. So that's an old Norm Macdonald joke. So you made it. We got Dennis Quaid here, everybody. We do an intro before, so don't worry. We're gonna fucking.
We got his height and weight. He's still ripped.
I know I'm in great hands.
Yeah. Nothing bad can happen here.
Nothing bad can happen here, and there are no rules, and we've already started, and we're halfway done.
You're almost out of here.
How are you, man? It's been a long. See, last time I saw you was on an airplane.
Yeah.
Coming from New York.
What were we doing? Was it some upfronts or something?
I was doing upfronts. Yeah, that's right. That's why we were both on the plane.
And we were, because we took a picture on the plane.
Yeah, and I'd just done that hoax.
Oh, that's right.
About that I'd had a meltdown on the set.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And then I had you like in a headlock, or you had me in a headlock on the
And then
photo?
3 days later, released it that it was all a hoax. And
we were on set.
You did a hoax together?
He did a hoax online, and people thought he flipped out in the set. I think that was it, right?
Yeah.
And that someone caught it from a camera.
Yeah. Funny or Die.
Oh, Funny or Die
thing.
Oh,
that I'd had a serious meltdown on the set.
Very believable meltdown.
And then it turned out that it was just a comedy skit.
The last time I saw you, I don't know if we interacted. I was at the Par 3 golf course in Studio City with Lovett.
Whitsett?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
is Lovett still there?
Yeah.
He never leaves that place.
He's a caddy.
If there's pie there, he's there. We love you, John.
Yeah, we love you.
No, I talked to him earlier today. And anyway,
Tell Dennis Quaid.
Hysterical.
Yeah, he gets excited.
But you were just booming, driving the ball.
And cursing in between.
Are you still any good?
I could be.
Well,
not quite there yet.
No time.
Yeah.
Do you understand what it means to maybe at one point have a 1 handicap? Is that true?
Yeah.
That's like not normal for an actor.
Oh, it's called too much time on your hands, I guess.
It's between films.
Like, you have these deluded dreams of, wow, maybe I could actually go on the tour. But that was a passing phase, and
do you know how bad most golfers are? I mean,
I know I'm one of them.
Horrible. No, but
I'm an 8 handicap now.
But that means, I mean, I would shoot 100. Okay, if I was playing by real rules on a real course.
Yeah, I have shot 100 before.
Oh, I feel better.
Sometimes you do go by the real rules. You have to. I'm a 800 handicap. I don't know what that means, but I was told that early on. No, I actually try to play.
That's about a 15-hour round.
Yeah,
that's what
it is. You live here or not?
So I live in Nashville primarily.
Oh,
my kids are here, and so during the school year, I come back here every
Everyone
other
loves
2
Nashville
weeks.
now. What's the deal?
What?
The tax rate? Nashville, which I've played there, it's a great town.
It's fantastic.
And zero state tax.
They have zero state tax. That's true. But it's the vibe that is going on there. There's kind of an artistic collegial atmosphere that's happening there. It's not your grandpa's Nashville anymore. It's hard to find a hush puppy. In fact,
I see, yeah.
And it's just great.
Yeah.
75% of all music done in the United States, regardless of genre, is done in Nashville.
That's what I would tell people. If you walk down the main drag and you go into a bar or whatever, you see like one of the best country western bands you've ever seen. And then you walk a few more feet, and then you see a family doing it. Yeah. Great country western. So, and that's another one of your things we'll get to. You are a #1 gospel song, Fallen, which I listened to today.
Yep.
Great song.
Thanks.
And you really can sing. Do you have
sometimes?
Do you ever
look at other bands of actors? Because the people, you have to earn a lot of respect when you're an actor. And guess what? I could do this other thing. Costner has one. Jim Belushi has
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah,
Keanu Reeves. So it's pretty cool that you've made
quite a bit. It's either that or athletes want to be actors, or they want to be basketball players and football players, or it's just something I've always done. Music is just something I've done since I was 12 years old, and songwriting. I knew I was never going to shred a guitar, so I turned to songwriting early, and then I've always had a band, and so it's just something I do.
So what hit you hard? Because we're pretty much the same age.
Yeah.
So that would be, but your kind of country western got you more like Johnny Cash, or were you blown away by the Beatles and all that?
All of that.
All of it.
So all of that.
Yeah.
I grew up in Houston. It's a pretty eclectic place. Actually, I grew up musically, and I remember Elvis. I remember Hank Williams. I remember my dad would croon around to Bing Crosby. That was his Elvis, and Dean Martin, and then the Beatles came along, and
Everything
blew everything out of the water.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you ever go to Kid Rock's Country Shit Kicker Circus?
Yep.
That's a bar down there.
Yep.
It should be called Bubba Trump's, to be honest.
Yeah.
Is that in
He's got another one over at his place, too.
Oh, his house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
His church or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to the old.
He's quite a guy.
He's the mayor of Nashville, pretty much.
He's the mayor of Broadway, that's for sure.
Yeah. There's actually every other, Dana, if you go there, when I did the Ryman or whatever last time, every couple bars is a country western singers bar.
Yeah.
Like Aldine, I think there's one of those. There's
Tanya Tucker's.
Is there Tanya Tucker?
Well, she's gonna. It's Tanya.
It's Tanya.
But, she's getting ready to open
What is the
Tennessee
accent? I always thought it was almost like an Al Gore or something.
Al Gore is from Tennessee.
Yeah.
I
did say Umbridge Conmel.
So many people in Texas came from Tennessee. It's kind of like very similar, I think.
Yeah.
It was the West back then.
So
it's an Andrew Jackson accent, I think.
Is that the president?
Knows that.
Well, I do an Andrew Jackson because no one can prove it's not a good one.
Yeah, you do a good one.
I am Andrew Jackson.
I said, boy.
I'm Andrew Jackson here right now. If you can't do the impression.
Guy, you've done just about every president there is.
Between you and me, you did Clinton in a movie.
Yeah, I did.
Which was great. I mean, you're.
It was fantastic.
It's interesting. Someone asked me and wrote a really good script as a live streaming show to do Perot in a biopic, like what you just did with Reagan.
Yeah.
And it was a really good script. I just didn't, wouldn't even know how to approach that. But that, I don't really want to get into how you're, because you don't want to do a caricature. You want to be the character.
I voted for Ross Perot.
Can I bust my buns and bite me with a butterfly?
You're welcome, sir.
Can I do Ross Perot as James Brown
like
now?
You said, saving and, to get around the economic crisis, it'll be fun. I'm surprised that we even had a baby that learned to walk around here. It's hell so much.
The greatest character in the history of politics.
Yeah, it was fabulous.
In my act now, I do him as James Brown. Can I come in on the one? Can I come in on the one? See, he gets the joke.
I get it.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
Music joke.
Can I come in on the one? Yeah, it was a revolutionary thing that James Brown came. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1, which creates this whole. Good stuff. Okay, well,
you did Reagan.
Sorry, David.
No, I want to talk about Reagan because
he does Michael J. Fox
getting pegged
from the movie Casualties of War. If you haven't heard it, you have to do it. If you've heard it, don't do it.
It's hard to get me out of my shell.
Michael J. Fox from Casualties of War.
Oh, remember Casualties of War?
Yes,
Sean
I do.
Penn.
Yes,
Sean Penn?
yes, I do. Yeah. Yes.
Hey, Sarge, what are we doing here exactly? You got to give me a minute on this here, Sarge. Come on. Mallory? I combined it. That's all I got, Dennis.
The fact that it exists is
fabulous.
funny. It's fabulous that someone thought to do Michael J. Fox from that particular
movie.
And he did that movie, which was...
When you do it, it's not like an impersonation. It's like you are Michael J. Fox.
Yeah. Sean Penn, John C. Reilly. It was
I even see the haircut.
I think I wanted to be like Michael J. Fox when I got into showbiz, and then I gave that up quickly. But he was too famous, too good. He was great.
Well, let's give a little shout out to Michael J. Fox.
Yes, let's do it, man.
If you look at Back to the Future and how hard it is to play that part and how brilliantly he did it, it's amazing. He
had to go back in time,
and many, many other films. So
he's besides being an incredible person, he really has been. He's love the guy.
Extraordinary.
What about this Reagan thing? Let's talk about that.
The Reagan thing.
You played Reagan.
First of all, contextually, it's interesting that this is now probably started 2 years ago or whatever. It's coming out.
Started really 6 years ago.
Yeah. So this is the most tumultuous time in the history of American politics by any measure.
Yeah.
At the very moment we're doing this podcast. And your Reagan biopic is coming out August
August 30th.
Okay. So right after the Democratic National Convention.
I guess so, yeah.
Do you
I think they're going to close with the screening of the Reagan.
Yeah, Biden, here's the biopic. Dennis Quaid is going to... What? I tell you, come on.
Hey, Reagan's here.
Let's get real. The fact of the deal is, come on. There's no doubt what we did there in the People's Spy. Do you think you have the cognitive discipline to be president? Yeah. Sorry, he's my new toy. But so Reagan, let's start like you did Clinton.
I did Clinton.
And you won awards
back,
for that.
2005, something like that. And I actually played a George Bush type character in American Dreams.
That's right.
With a Z.
You weren't technically George W., but you were George.
But,
so how did that guy sound?
He kind of, sort of. I can't even go there anymore. He kind of, sort of sounded like George Bush. Right. And then, you got a Cheney character, so it's pretty obvious. But then I was offered Reagan, I guess this is 2018, something like that. And he was my favorite president. And he's like Muhammad Ali, he's like known.
Sure.
All over the world and like this. So it took me a while to say yes because it was just scared to death to play him.
And it seems like you were the perfect choice. I mean,
I didn't see it that way.
Well, you have kind of a head. I mean, there is
a big head. Is that what you're trying to get to?
Your head is square jawed. You know, it's like I can't play Reagan. But you mean you kind of you were physically they could kind of.
Yeah, well, I said we're both actors. We both have sunny dispositions, I think. But, it was like everybody in the world knows what he looked like, sounded like. And I just didn't really feel it was just
it's a tough one.
A tough one to take on.
Yeah,
and
sure. Oh, yeah.
So I thought about it for a while. And then because where's the way in? You don't want to do an impersonation,
No.
That's pretty easy. And
Nancy and all that.
That's right. And so it took me a while to really kind of get into who he was as a person. And I went up to the Reagan Ranch, was Western White House back there. And it's not a public place. His friends bought it to keep it as it was. Their clothes are in the closet there. You expect them to come back any second. They didn't change a thing.
Interesting.
And you go up 5 miles of the worst road in California and get to the top, and I realized that Reagan was a humble man. He wasn't a rich man. And they had a king-size bed, but it was 2 single beds that were zip tied together.
Jesus.
They did have GE. They had GE appliances. That's from
General Electric.
For GE.
Money bags now.
And his bookcase was there, which had every book he'd ever read, going back to when he was 9 years old. And there was just a feeling there that you could just feel his presence in a way. And his Secret Service agent, John, was kind of the caretaker of the place. He told me all kinds of stories about him. And that's when I decided, I'll do it.
He's still guarding it, even though Reagan's gone. That's nice.
John is gone too. He passed right before we started shooting because we wanted to put him in the movie. But
one thing that's interesting to me is being around during that time, and Reagan was hung in effigy over. They wanted a nuclear freeze, and no, we're going the other way.
Yeah,
and now he's become so bright and shiny. That even the New York Times will refer to him how he dealt with Israel once, and so and Fox News likes him. I mean, he's become this character that sort of transcends politics in a way.
Yeah, there were Reagan Democrats that came over at the time, but he was, if you remember those times, he was called a warmonger. He's going to get us into a nuclear war for sure.
Yeah,
his economic policy was just for the rich, and he didn't care about the working man, and kind of like what's going on today in a sense. But he was who he was, and he also he knew how to lead. something in him knew how to lead.
He was tough. I mean, right in the first part of his administration, the air traffic controllers went on strike.
Right.
And he fired all of them.
Yeah.
That was like a tough thing at the time.
Yeah. I mean, he shut down the airspace, in the FAA, and that had never been done. An entire agency fired all of them. And I think that's when, in fact, him doing that actually made the Russians think that this guy is like, he's crazy. We better watch out. And, Reagan won the Cold War. I mean, along with the Pope and Lech Walesa, yes, but it took a Cold Warrior like that to deal with the Russians because they respected him.
Yeah.
They thought there was 80% thought, oh, well, he's reasonable. And that 20% they thought, well, he might just, if we're not careful, he might do something we regret. Yeah.
One thing that I think in terms of playing him, I wonder what you'd think about this, because watching all these different debates, different politics these days, and Reagan had a thing, and he did it with Carter, and it seems to speak to him so much that he would never get angry, and if he was misrepresented in his way, in his mind, he would say, well, there you go again. Yes. It's the most benign, likable way to say, you're lying, motherfucker.
Yeah.
There you go again.
The best one was in the debate with Mondale, when it was about his age.
Yeah.
He said, I will not, for political purposes, exploit my opponent's youth and inexperience.
Brought down the house.
And it brought down the house. Yeah. Even Mondale couldn't help it. He cracked up. and then Reagan did a thing that I'm sure you will recognize. He did a Jack Benny. Because he had them laughing, and he just picked up his glass of water.
Oh, and just did a
just soaked it in.
Stillness.
Just drank to pause so it would continue.
It's called killing.
It's a privilege kind of to inhabit him for a while. I mean, he just comes off so likable.
Yeah. He was everybody's dad, I think, to the boomers especially, and that's for worse, better or worse. There's a lot of people who still,
sure.
You can't mention his name and they'll kind of fly off the wall.
This seems like a nonsense.
But he was either your good dad or your bad dad.
Or bad. Yeah, I ran into Patty Davis right after 9/11 at a gym, and she was, I know, I'm just remembering this now. And she goes, I know this might come off weird, but I kind of wish Daddy was in the Oval Office now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that weird. Well, that would be great.
There was a reason the Iran hostages got released the day of his inauguration.
I know.
Because the Iranians didn't want to deal with Reagan.
Well, he was the kind of guy, we will not negotiate
with hostages.
And Jimmy Carter's like, well, if we're nice to them, if we're very nice, maybe they'll release the hostages.
Yeah. They'll be reasonable.
They'll be reasonable.
Like us.
Yes.
I think that's what,
That's the problem.
Well, with Americans, we're like that. We grew up like that, the golden rule and all that, what we get taught, and that we think the whole world is the same way.
Like Leave It to Beaver.
You can reason
best.
With It's an episode of Leave It to Beaver where you could talk to Gaddafi and reason with the guy, and you should be more like Warren Beatty, if you want to protest. But his cousin,
we get played that way.
They looked alike, but there's really bad people, bad leaders of nations out there, and they've grown up in a culture that's based on political violence or personal violence or whatever. And that's the way they act.
Right. So I agree with you. You got to play it a different way. Because we always think if we do the right thing, they'll do the right thing. And that doesn't always work. And they sort of show their cards. They're not hiding it.
No, they don't.
Since we are the world, literally, there is in the DNA in Americans a lot in the people who fought to get here and all the immigration we had and all our ancestors, that we want freedom above everything. And we don't want anyone to tell us what to do. I think if the government had said, well, would you take the COVID shot? You don't have to, but we'd kind of like you to. People might have said, okay. But once you tell a certain kind of American, hey, man, fuck you. It's like there's a rebellious side to us,
Yeah, there's true. I am that too. I'm not a very good rule follower.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
You seem like
I don't know if it's based on personal freedom or just, I don't know.
Well, when we grew up, it was question authority. That was the bumper sticker. Whoever's the authority, just question them. They work for us. Remember, it's our government.
Yeah, Watergate. that did a lot after that. And Kennedy getting shot. Bobby Kennedy getting shot. Martin Luther King, and then Watergate.
Yeah,
pretty much. We were. I think America was kind of walking wounded.
That's what
back then.
That was our formative years. David's a little younger, but that's
true.
That informed everything.
That's what we came into.
David's a lot younger, but
I'm like a child here.
Yeah,
I'm like with my two dads.
So when people,
no, I'm old and gross. Ask
listen
anybody.
He's like
go to the comments.
He's very bright. So David, do you have any questions?
What I do is I take it in. I think we all got introduced to Dennis during the Let's Give Us Something to Talk About video. That's where I first was introduced to you. Do you remember that video?
The something you talk about with Bonnie Raitt?
Yes.
Yes, I remember that very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You look very cute in that.
I was. Okay. It was a lot of fun.
But a great musician, Bonnie Raitt, and your music. How do you even get involved in that?
At the time,
She's a fan.
I had a band.
Oh, okay.
The Eclectics, that was also Bonnie's road band.
See, nobody knows that.
So,
that's a good way.
How was
that
Bonnie?
Together.
What?
How was Bonnie?
She seems cool as shit, huh?
I would have been a fan of her since I was like working at Astro World in Houston. That's when her first record came out. That blues record. That was like, man, it was like so different from anything in music, and I just fell in love with her and her music. And then, that she was one of the first people I actually ever met. I'd met her like when I got to LA about very soon after that. And she was just so nice. And you cannot give her a compliment. That's her only fault. She won't take a compliment. She will not do it. And
not me.
But
that's what's great about you. Took a compliment.
By the way, you got into one of her best songs. That song is great.
This song is fantastic.
That song is unreal.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
And that was before. Then I did a movie called Something to Talk About.
Oh, you did?
And it was in that. But that was just a coinky dink.
Oh.
That had nothing to do with.
Does this ring true with you that I was with Bonnie Raitt at an SNL party, and Eric Roberts and Christopher Walken were sitting next to each other?
Wow.
And Bonnie Raitt
me back to the Carvey Central.
Bonnie Raitt looked at them and goes, God, I feel like I'm having sex just looking at them. I thought that was a really funny line.
Yeah.
And they were kind of in their prime. They looked like badasses.
Yeah.
It's like.
Well, I was just talking to Dana about when you did SNL, and it was probably right when I got there. I think you said right when Sandler got there, right? Because
Sandler was in that
December.
show.
Yeah, it was the Christmas show.
Yeah, that was, he just joined.
Yeah.
It was a pretty big show. It was a great show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we did Dysfunctional.
Please don't touch me.
Right.
I'm doing fine. Just go away.
Yeah,
I'm doing fine.
Oh, I remember that one.
The Family Christmas.
Dysfunctional.
We just talked to Bonnie and Terry Turner, the writers who wrote that.
Yeah, they were just
one of their favorite sketches they ever wrote on SNL.
It was beautiful.
That got stuck in my head. That was hilarious.
And you played the crazy pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mike Myers was on the show at that time.
Yeah.
Did you do Sprockets?
I was on Sprockets.
Did you touch the monkey?
Yes.
You did touch my monkey.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part of that. The arbitrary.
Ich habe ihn fast on Samstagen, du bist eingeladen.
What a great time to be on the show, though. How fun. Yeah.
That was a great time.
Who was your music? You remember?
The Neville Brothers.
Neville Brothers?
Oh,
yeah.
Is that because of you?
Who were... I guess it was, but I didn't ask them. That was all done. It was mysterious how that all happened.
Made sense.
Yeah, they were
Yeah, what a great time.
Finished, Pilot Renegade guy, and then Mustang Calhoun. So they did get you on a 6-string. It's a pretty funny name for a country western guy or whatever.
Mustang Calhoun.
Mustang Calhoun.
Mustang Calhoun.
Still use it, MC.
So what do you want? I just finished up with Reagan a little bit.
I love Reagan.
What's your hopes for that? Have you seen it? Or you feel great about it?
I've seen it, yeah. And, we finished shooting like almost 4 years ago.
Oh, for real?
4 years ago, it will be this October when we started
COVID
shooting
stopped
it.
The whole thing.
And so it's, it's been a journey. And then
the movie got COVID.
Yeah.
That's never happened.
Yeah, we got COVID.
Did you get shut down?
I see the scene where I got COVID in this.
Oh, really?
That's the assassination.
Oh, yeah. That's the worst kind.
Yeah, in the hospital, getting by gurney past all these extras like that
really?
at 2 in the morning in a basement with no
that's when it was.
ventilation.
You must, when this happened
crew had it.
with Trump, you must know more about assassination attempts just from knowing about the movie. So was there any questions?
That was the last time a president was shot. Was Reagan.
Yeah, it was Reagan.
And you do it's bio. I mean, you do him young. You're doing him middle age. I mean, that's also a huge challenge to do.
I play him from 35. When he first came to Hollywood, through when he said goodbye to the American people in his letter.
That letter,
when he had diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
A beautiful letter. I mean, only Reagan.
It's an incredible letter.
Yeah, it's just so human.
Yeah, and it was, it was a challenge. I mean, first just the voice, because in his younger days he's like way up here. We all have a kind of a higher pitch, and eventually get down to
I totally agree
where it's well, and it's that, and just meeting so many people that were close to him. And one thing I found was that even to those who were very close to him, probably including Nancy, there was kind of a private place in him that was kind of unknowable.
A little bit of, something
that was kind of separated and distant from the rest of the world.
Nancy was, who plays Nancy?
Penelope Ann Miller.
Oh, okay.
And she is Nancy.
She's a Nancy. Because she was in The Enforcer, right? When it came to Ronnie.
A lot of people would think that, but no, they just...
or even just...
They had... There would have not have been a President Reagan without Nancy.
Okay.
So because she was just there for him.
Mm-hmm.
She really dedicated her life to their love and his aspirations, and but it's she wasn't what I call the enforcer or anything like that.
Well, I think that she protected him in a different way. Like when Reagan went to Japan, it was a 7-day trip, and Nancy insisted first they go to California, rest for a day, then they're in Hawaii. Then they're in Guam.
I read about that.
Rather than just like when they're whipping Biden around, I mean, that is tough at 81. You go there and back.
Right.
She was protective that way. But so was the assassination attempt, did you act that out?
Yeah.
The whole thing?
Yeah, we recreated that.
Okay.
And that was...
Was James Brady shot and then also someone else, right?
James Brady, and then also the Secret
Service guy. Okay.
The famous shot where he did
takes it in the gut like that. And, the shot that got Reagan was actually a ricochet off the car.
Oh.
Either off the bulletproof glass or the metal. And he was going like this, saying hello to everybody. And it caught him right here.
Oh.
And
under the arm.
It wasn't like 4 minutes of, while they clear everything. They just put a hand on top of his head, shoved him
Every
in there
second
on top
counts.
of him. And he got up and he said, "Gosh, you almost broke my ribs." He was admonishing the Secret Service for that. And then, they were going to the White House. They weren't going to the hospital because he was okay, untouched. And then about 4 or 5 blocks down, he coughed up some blood. And that's what made him go to the hospital.
Okay.
And
he still didn't feel, oh, wow.
Yeah. And if they hadn't done that, he would have died for sure. The bullet had gone here. It was just the smallest, tiniest little hole, but it had stopped like a 1/4 inch from his heart.
Jesus.
And, it's like Trump with the
Trump with the ear. I also thought when they took him away, he doesn't know there could be one in his back. If you're in shock and your adrenaline, I wasn't sure everything was okay. You know, same reason.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you never know. And, you know, I think those guys on the ground, I mean, they took 4 minutes, but they did the right thing, you know, thinking about other shooters. Mm-hmm. It seemed to me, too, that when they got him on the ground, what they did, because he said, I want my shoes.
Yeah.
I think they basically ripped open his shirt.
Yeah,
you know, and checked him everywhere for any kind of wounds that he might have, you know, before they got him up, knew they could transport him, because you don't, if somebody's shot,
his shoes were what? He just fell?
Move. What?
What was the shoes?
Well, they must have taken off the shoes. I don't know. Maybe they took his pants off.
Or maybe they were loafers when they grabbed
so they're
him.
Giving him a
somehow
quick
his
check.
Shoes got off.
His shoes got off because I think they took them off.
Yeah. Oh, they just took them off, took the tie off. They're just looking for...
Yeah, they were just looking for any kind of...
Yeah. And then they're like on top of him going, okay, we got to make a move now.
Yeah.
And then they got a plan. Obviously.
Then they heard what shooter... They said, the shooter's down.
Right.
That was about 45 seconds.
Did it surprise you that the guy got close and wasn't seen?
Incredible.
It's incredible. When you were seeing this video, I don't know if it's a policeman or the Secret Service, the sniper looking at the bad guy, let's say, and he sees him, aren't you allowed to just shoot if the guy's got a gun? You see a guy laying there with a gun. Do you have to wait to get orders? Or, because remember, he looked up, then there's a shot, then he goes down and hits him. But if you've got him in the sights, he's wearing camo and he's got the gun. So is it just a rule you can just take a shot?
Well, who knows?
There's a person here between the three of us that is qualified to play the head of the security team in a biopic.
Or we're going to write a report. This is a commission. With three, you have a commission, right?
You'll be the hard-boiled guy coming and go, what the fuck went on here?
This is called...
I want this perimeter locked down.
We can take all the lines from every movie we've done.
Three dipshits.
I'm getting too old for this shit.
Who's your agency? CAA, UTA? Just put it in their ear.
Yeah.
This has got motion picture written all over it. But yeah, we'll find out.
We cracked the code here, and everyone's like, wow, no one thought of this.
Going to come out August 14th.
Yeah, so everything we say now will be
people falling asleep on the freeway.
It was like, what were they thinking? So I think we better shut up now.
It's impossible. No, it'll still be going on, knowing the way it works in America.
All I can say is, thank God we can laugh about it in as far as Trump goes. I mean,
absolutely.
But the firefighter who lost his life.
We talked about the same bullet yesterday, trying to protect his wife and daughter.
I'm trying to figure out where he was. Was
he directly behind
a grandstand over between him and the shooter? I don't get it, but
he would have been.
I mean, the guy dove on his family
I know
when things came up, and it's
because of all the. Oh, he's okay. No one knew right then. No, someone was not okay.
Yeah.
You know, when they get Trump out, you think he's okay, but no one knew if someone got hit.
Yeah, the randomness of human existence, it's just so tragic.
Yeah, it really is.
And heroic, of course. The instinct, you always think the impulse would be to dive on your loved ones, but he actually did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
easier said than done.
Sacrificed himself. Yeah.
I think when I watched that, or when I was seeing replays, it was so weird to see if Biden or Trump, if something happened to them on live TV, it would be so disturbing it's so weird. Cause you know, it was not since Kennedy where it was like really, but no one really saw that. They saw a video later, but to see it happen in real time, it would have shook the shit out of anyone.
We all know it would have been the most gothic thing. I talked to a military guy, friend of mine,
especially
and
kids.
What would have happened would have been beyond what we can imagine.
Yeah.
And with bright color 8K television globally.
It would have been
terrifying.
It's just, we're all a little still shook from it. I definitely was adrenalized after I saw that.
It would have been one of those things you could never unsee.
What was your first bit? I'm going to get away from this because you guys obviously don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, but it's the Ronald Reagan extravaganza picture, August 24th.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm very proud of the movie, to tell you the truth.
Of course.
And,
that speaks volumes.
With editing, and we try, I don't see it as political. The film, it's about a man's life.
Human. Yeah,
it's not a total love letter. Reagan missed, the way his response to AIDS at the time was
behind the 8 ball a little bit,
wanting. I think. Later on, I think he came around about it, but the initial response was not there. Iran-Contra, I don't think he was involved in it, but it was on his watch.
Yeah.
He delegated a lot, and I think he would say things, and then those below would carry them out. And, so there's, some things which which were not the best, but overall, I myself, I think he was the greatest president of the 20th century. He and maybe Franklin Roosevelt.
Well, he was charming, and even going back to this, but after he got wounded, and just again, very Reagan. I'm sorry, Mommy, I forgot to duck.
I forgot. Yeah,
I mean, just all.
But he did bring unity to a nation, and he brought us back. We were a declining nation. Everything, it's so strange about how today is so similar. Carter was in there, who I voted for too, by the way. Because after Watergate, you wanted somebody out. We wanted somebody outside of Washington.
Nixon.
Yeah. And Carter, like, he gave away the B-1 bomber. The economy was really down the tubes, and
crazy.
It just 20% was the interest rates back then. And that may have been caused by the Vietnam War, not just, Carter's administration.
The 70s was an odd decade.
It was, but we felt like we were a nation in decline, and Reagan came along and really made us feel proud to be Americans again.
Well, and also there's this great picture. Tip O'Neill was the leader of the Democrats, and then Ronald Reagan, and they would go in and have a drink and tell dirty jokes, and then Reagan would say, "What do you need?" They'd negotiate, and there's a picture of them coming out just laughing their asses off. And that's like as if that would be, the Speaker of the House, I don't know, Schumer and whatever, Trump, or being friends. So he did rotate that a little bit, and he negotiated with the Democrats.
Yeah, it'd be like Nancy Pelosi and Trump.
Laughing their asses,
and
barrel
getting
laughing
together for a beer on a Friday afternoon. And that's basically the way it was. They even said at the beginning that we're going to be bitter enemies until 5 o'clock. And then we're just a couple of Irishmen having a beer. And they were.
I did like that Biden called Trump. I do like when there's some normal things happen in the world. And
I did too.
It just drops it for a second, and it's not going to go away. But you just go, okay, so we have real people trying to be real people for a second.
That was a time back then, which I think Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan kind of exemplified that. I think that's what we need to get back to, at least, to be able to talk back and forth.
That would be great. I don't know.
Sounds so simple.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we pass each other in the street every day. We go into each other's businesses, no matter what side, and we're polite to each other, treat each other like human beings, until you find out they're a label, and then all of a sudden they're demonized.
Well, whoever made social media, I guess, programmed the robots to get more views, and the robots figured out the way to get more views is to get people angry. And so, so anyone who doesn't know they're being hypnotized into darkness on the World Wide Web, at least be aware that it's trying to feed you what gets you going. So I think I don't have any answers.
You hit something right on the point there, and that starts, I think, with kind of self-examination.
I tell every human being I meet, whatever their opinion is, okay, now read the opposite. Read the opposite. I juxtapose the Wall Street Journal and New York Times. They're just in the morning. It's $100 a year each. I just go, what does the New York Times take? What's the Wall Street Journal's take? I find myself watching stuff I disagree with more because I know my opinions. But if everyone would say, okay, I'm going to just read the opposite for a week,
I might learn something.
That's all.
You know what I mean? Even if it's that why are why is the other side not even covering this? You know, sometimes.
Well, censorship by omission is the greatest use of censorship.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I'd like to see at least more of that.
Well, more awareness. I mean,
no, more in coverage.
Yeah,
more reporters. I mean, people who call themselves journalists actually not giving you their judgment of something that's putting themselves in the story to actually tell the story.
To humanize
I think that is I agree 100%. That's called journalism, I think.
Yeah.
There's a quote by Thomas Sowell, who's an economist I always like in terms of the whole political theater and the intensity of it. There are no solutions, only trade-offs. We are always trying to make better, but there's not like one side has it all perfectly worked out. So there's no reason to demonize the other side.
Yeah, I mean, that's what our country's based on.
Yeah.
And they called it compromise.
Compromise.
Right from the very beginning.
You like equality, I like freedom. Let's work out a relationship, how they work together. I would run on a ticket with you. Just for, you would run for governor. I'd be lieutenant governor in California.
Oh, we could switch it up.
I'm just throwing it out.
What do I do? Look after
I think
this
in
dog?
California, you have a better chance. In Texas, I would have the better chance.
Texas.
In Texas, but you do such a great George Bush
to Texas,
that you would be.
And I would just do George W.
Yeah, most of your impressions are...
Say hello to Governor Quaid. That sounds good, doesn't it? I like being W because he was our frat boy president, emotional, and just that kind of thing, you know? He's just a cheerful...
You get me every time with that. Then you also delineated between him and the father, George the One.
Well, education, doing well. Down here, Quaid, podcast, Fly, Wall, Spade, Greg, Heather, somebody in a room.
1,000 points of light.
1,000 points of light coming at you. No, but to the point, that was the most extreme, if you reverse extrapolate, whatever, interpolate. I made fun of him. He loses the election, and he calls me, and we become friends. People go, but I didn't know him while I was doing him. I didn't know.
But the impression's so silly and dumb. It's nothing. SNL was
it was so perfect.
Yeah.
If he'd had Twitter back then, he might have been Dana Garney doing that impression of me right now on Saturday Night Live, right, waving his arms around like a spastic monkey. #dick. Could have been, but there was no Twitter.
Yeah.
So I was out there. But anyway, so we all hope for a better time. I'd like to talk about the right stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say, do any of these movies ring a bell?
Possessed by that movie.
Right Stuff.
I love it. I mean, the
Right Stuff is
that your
my favorite movie ever done.
Really?
Until Reagan, actually. It kind of, after 40 years, that spot's been taken over. I judge the movies I judge by the time I had on them. You know what I mean?
You mean the shooting?
Yeah, well, the time that I had experienced while making it.
From the beginning to the end, right?
Martin Sheen said that to Rob Lowe and all the Brat Pack guys, and he says, that was his advice. You just think about, do you like who you're working with? Do you like the job you're doing? Don't think about outcome and all that other stuff. So that's really interesting that you loved making the right stuff.
Well, I was from Houston, which was Space City, and I was right there first grade when they rolled in the TV so we could watch Alan Shepard go up. The capsule. Gordo Cooper was my favorite astronaut. He was the youngest. He was the rock and roll astronaut. And I love that name, Gordo. And then, the book comes out, and I read it like in 2 days. And if they ever make a movie of this, I would, I want to play Gordo. And I was not Dennis Quaid back then.
Sure.
You auditioned. You've done some work.
I was just trying to get a job, you know.
That's a while back. Yeah.
Basically.
So you had done a few things and you were lucky to get in, just even an audition, right?
I got in for the audition because somebody dropped out of the role. And then I got in there and I got the part. And then it turned out that Gordo Cooper lived 3 miles from me in L.A., over in the valley.
Oh.
So I called him up.
Oh, you got to see him?
And we met him. And then he turned me on to a flight school in Van Nuys, and I got my pilot's license while we were making the movie in secret. And
did that come naturally to you? I mean,
no, I was afraid to fly. actually before that, I felt like, you're going to fall out of the sky.
I don't really like it.
Yeah. But I had this teacher, my instructor was Bud Wallen. And he was 3 years
by the seat of your pants.
He was 3 years younger than aviation itself. And
really?
You could solo if you want to, but you don't have to. That was his thing. And it was he had me through it. He was,
had that on the side of the plane. You can solo if you want to,
but you don't have to.
That must be scary as shit. The solo.
Seat of my pants falling.
Oh, it was after I got my license.
Is it really
it's
scary
just a
to go
license
solo?
To really scare yourself.
I mean, the first time, even if you're good, is it just terrifying?
It's a license to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Until you get like an instrument rating on top of that, because
it's too scary. Because anything can happen. You're by yourself. What if you didn't feel?
I was
good?
lucky. John Kennedy was kind of, God love him. I don't think he really had any business flying that night.
Yeah,
it
was a
common thing of the disorientation.
That was during SNL.
You can't tell up from down.
No,
right?
yeah,
you're just completely
like when you do your instrument training. They put a hood on you. You take off, and they put a hood on you that's like this, just covering. The only thing you can see is the dashboard with the instruments. You can't see outside, and you have to fly for maybe 2 hours, like that, and then they you get 50 feet above the runway, and they take it off, and you see if you're there.
Did John F. Kennedy Jr. get that?
But you have your inner ear is telling you that you're in a turn, that you're at an angle, and so you're constantly trying to level what you think is the wing, but your instruments are saying you're straight and level.
Wow!
But you're going to trust your inner ear.
Damn.
So you're trusting.
That's the thing you have to get
Note
over.
to self: don't take pilot lessons.
Don't leave the house.
But that was something else. And then Chuck Yeager was on the set every day.
So he's arguably like the coolest, badass test pilot, or is the test pilot of all time.
Nobody will ever touch him. He was
Fearless.
Checked out in 192 separate aircraft. It was, and he locked us in a room and told us his whole story, going back from when he was a lawnmower repairman in West Virginia, farm kid, to like World War II and 5 shoot downs in World War II and the whole test pilot stuff.
The X-15, I think, the first speed of sound.
Yeah, he never. That was the X-1. X-15, he never flew.
Oh, okay.
But he was out of it by that time. But he was an incredible human being. It was like hanging out with John Wayne for
the thing about
4 months
that
or
book
something.
and that movie. It's just so interesting when you don't know anything and really get just the idea of these young men or whatever age they were, and how you kept going back and forth with the German scientists. We want a window, all that stuff,
right?
And what a tin can it was, and what the technology was so lo-fi. The bravery or the craziness, I don't know how did you?
Well, that the only thing, like I said, is my favorite movie. I loved making it. It was 9 months. I was, wished it never ended when I was doing it. But the one thing that I think was kind of the Achilles heel about the film is the way they treated Gus Grissom. The second one into space. Lost his capsule. Went to the bottom of the ocean.
Right. He blew the chute, or what was the phrase?
Screwed the pooch.
Screwed the pooch.
Where they say, they were always trying to get to the top of the pyramid.
Right.
And then if you screwed up, that was, it was your fault. It wasn't the machine, even if it broke.
That's kind of like you panicked. If you pull that thing before you're supposed to.
You lost your cool.
Lost your cool, you panicked. Worst thing that could happen.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that was fair or unfair? Not fair.
Unfair. Completely unfair. It was used as a device, a literary device by Tom Wolfe. And Phil carried it over in directing it. But it wasn't true. I mean, his family's still alive. This is, more people saw the movie than remember all those things, and that's his legacy. But what happened was that it was the first time they were trying out that the escape hatch that they put needed an escape hatch,
right?
And they didn't take into account that when you go into space and you come back down to Earth, the pressure building up and stuff like that, inside the capsule and the air outside. So when he hit the water, the escape hatch actually blew itself. And then the spacecraft went 16,000 feet down, and he was filled up with water in his spacesuit. He barely made it outside. It was heroic how he actually got out of that spacecraft. And so that's what he gets. And if he had screwed the pooch, then why did they give him the first Gemini mission? Right. And why did they give him the first Apollo mission where he wound up getting fried on the launch pad?
Right.
Burned alive.
Yeah.
He was actually the one that, because the astronauts were also kind of in charge of quality control, and he was constantly complaining about how shoddy these things were put together in the electrical system. And that's what happened in the pure oxygen
I know, I remember that day too.
But to his legacy, what happened, that's my one regret of that film.
Well, we have 1,300 peaches.
Is the dog okay?
She's just agreeing.
She's just agreeing.
That's her talking.
It's snoring and there's a fart once in a while.
It's not actually snoring. It's kind of like her talking, right, Peachy?
Peachy. Yeah. Peachy's like, jeez.
Super happy on this carpet.
Riveting convo, Peachy.
Yeah.
Incredibly comfortable.
She goes everywhere with me.
Too
She's a service.
cozy.
Sandler too always has dogs like that, right? Bulldogs.
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got Bagel right now.
So then you go into what's the movie that turned you into a
what was
80s sex symbol? Was it was sort of easy, was the one in New Orleans?
Yeah, I guess so.
Big Easy?
Big Easy.
The Big Easy, yeah.
Who's in that?
Ellen Barkin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a cool movie.
That was a cool movie.
Yeah. Atmospherically.
Jim McBride directed that. And he was kind of, he had just done Breathless with Richard Gere. And he was kind of he was actually over there, during all that French New Wave stuff in France. And he kind of brought that sensibility to the film. And it was so much fun, so they tell me, to do that movie.
Okay, we can read through the lines a little bit. They can't all be, but
in New Orleans. We were in New Orleans for like 6 months.
You mean New Orleans?
New Orleans, yeah.
Yeah, New Orleans.
That's right.
Now we're
into
accent,
all that stuff.
That world. You were literally riding a rocket once Dennis Quaid came into being, the movie star Kevin.
That movie came out, and it was. I remember it was like it didn't really do well.
Really, it kind of resonated.
It was kind of down the line, And then it's the only time this ever happened in my whole career is like the second weekend. They said it went up.
It went up.
Yeah,
that's almost
and
impossible.
then it kept going up, and then it turned into this kind of like, girl get together,
pure word of mouth.
Right? Did they have a name? They were called Quaidies, or did they have a name? The fan group of
Big Easiers. I don't know.
Big Easiers.
Yeah, Big and Easier.
The Dennis dolls.
Bigger and easier, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Quaaludes.
So that's Quaaludes.
There you have
That's
it.
what I was remembering. That it got into
for
the
a movie to
zeitgeist
go
as a
up.
sex symbol.
There's I think Titanic might. There's very few movies that go up this first week, the second weekend, and the third.
Almost never.
It's impossible.
Almost never. Bonnie and Clyde was the only other one I could.
Really?
Oh, really? With
Yeah, they brought that out. They brought that out at the beginning of the summer. I remember when I was like 12, and it didn't do well. It just fell on its face, and then they brought it out again in the fall,
that shit.
And it was all about Faye Dunaway's wardrobe. It was a huge hit.
Oh, she was.
I saw it in the theaters. I was a little disturbed by it. I didn't quite know what was going on at certain times. They were rolling around in the bed, and he had a gun. I didn't know quite what it meant.
What's happening?
Yeah, no lover boy.
Dana was scared.
I did see Enemy Mine. Was that a fun one to make?
Yes.
You were on a planet with Lou Gossett Jr.
Yes.
That was affecting. I thought that was really landed, emotional.
Yeah, I do too.
A stranded astronaut meets an alien.
Of that, that movie. And Lou was like, he was so incredible.
He committed.
I was talking
the whole time.
Really?
Yeah.
I did see it.
And then Inner Space.
Inner Space. which is probably the most seen movie worldwide. That I've been in the back of India, and I've
really
Inner Space.
Inner Space.
Tuck Pendleton.
Yeah.
Is that your character's name?
You go, guy.
You go, guy.
Hey,
Inner
guy.
Space, you're very tiny in the movie. But
You're not so tiny now.
No, you're bigger than the movie time. Okay. So I have a Hindu cardiologist, so I get a free
Dana
pass.
always
for
says that.
Indian
Dr. P.K.
Yes.
Shaw,
Yeah.
who won't let me not.
There was nothing not racist, or there was nothing racist about that.
Not at all.
Yes.
And politically correct. Great Balls of Fire, another one.
Yeah,
I saw these
Jerry
in the
Lee Lewis.
theater. Another,
of course,
incredible, high energy, memorable movie.
The Great Balls of Fire. Yeah.
Jerry Lee Lewis, who was like 18 when he made it, or 16. I mean,
he was 21,
and a crazy man on the piano. For people who don't remember him, showman.
Yeah, he was on the set every day.
Oh,
I didn't play
guy?
piano when I got that role, but I had a year to prepare for it. And luckily, I was on cocaine at the time, because that will make you obsessed about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was 12 hours a day on the piano.
All right.
Yeah,
for our listeners.
Yeah, but the movie ended 6 months after the movie came out. I was in rehab for that, by the way.
But for that part,
it's been
you
over
had to be
30
like,
years
for
that. But
you were playing the piano really pretty skilled. I mean, very.
And I stuck with it. Jerry was one of my teachers.
He was teaching the piano.
Yeah. Jerry Lee, probably his only student he ever had.
How do they do? He had a young bride, right? How do they do that on a movie where they have to hire someone 18 to play? How old was she?
Winona
13.
was.
Oh, was Winona?
She turns. Winona Ryder. She turned. I think she turned 17.
Oh, and she had to play 13, maybe 14, whatever.
What's that?
How old was she in the movie?
In real life, she was on the cusp of 12, 13.
Oh.
And he was 21. And they were cousins. And, it's
cousins.
like, it really seems outrageous. And this is in no way in defense of anything. All I could say is about culturally, that back in the day of farm families, there's a reason that you have bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs. It means that you are grown up, and that's when people got married back then at that age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Henry VIII was 14 when he got married to, and it's historically that's otherwise we wouldn't be here. People were having kids early, but it's still.
Did people flip out back in the day when he actually did it?
Yes, they did. Once they got it, no one here knew about it in the States, and it's when they went to England, and she was tagging along, and some reporter in the welcoming airport press conference asked her, "Who are you, little girl?" And says, Mrs. Jerry Lee Lewis.
Oh, no way.
And that was the end of his career, just like that.
Oh, really?
It turned off just like that, and it was done. It was like he was. He was as big
canceled?
as Elvis at that point.
Elvis,
in fact, was had just gone into the military, and he was king of rock and roll. And that was the end of
58.
that.
Shit.
And then he just trundled around, but he never really got headlining gigs or record deals, or a lot less. Or
it was about 8 years went by, and he got into country music, which was his roots.
Yeah,
but he was huge in country music. Really, he did come back.
So he slowed down the music then, because in the 50s it was really bebop.
Oh, he'd still do that.
Oh, yeah.
I went on tour with him a couple of gigs with the
Sharks.
With his band and his Learjet, 6 guys jammed.
Lear 25 with the ceilings here.
Sounds big.
Yeah.
Oh man, I had a guy with cowboy boots. They pulled G's on
I saw
thing.
He would just go all night. I saw him when we were recording the music. Sit at the piano for 10 hours without even getting up to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
10 hours.
Adderall.
Yeah.
Well, unmedicated?
Jerry, in this back pocket, he had a 38.
Yep.
And in this other pocket, he had a bottle of Seagram 7. And that he soaked his pills in, most probably. Because
that old
I know people who took one sip of that stuff and went went down.
Show business is fascinating. The amount of self-destruction in artistic people.
And he was a really sweet, genuine person. And then he could be like a 14-year-old schoolyard bully at the same time. And, but he was genuine, and he was like, there'll never be another like him. He was a genius at the piano.
Yeah. When you go super famous to that happens to it goes away, it must screw with your head so much.
Yeah.
It's too weird. And plus he probably wasn't ready for fame anyway. No one really is.
I think we've all had like mini versions of that. Haven't we?
Yeah.
I mean, not scandal, if you don't want to say scandal, but there ebbs and flows.
Sure.
Or suddenly, the tap is turned off because of this or that.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I always go back to
Hollywood jail.
Hollywood jail.
One bad movie, Hollywood jail.
But to be able just to make a living was always the goal. Like I'm working right now.
Exactly.
And it's extraordinary to lose that humility about it, because there by the grace of who? God. There still is some whimsy to this whole chapter, and brilliant people might have just missed. I knew comedians that were brilliant and just missed the timing of getting on SNL and have a fine. They do stand up and they're fine, but there's a lot of whimsy to it.
It's hard to get cocky when you see people better than you all the time, and you go, it didn't happen.
Yeah, we all grew up with people like that in our classes. That we're so lucky to be here, and you're exactly right about that. The humility, wanting to get a job.
Yeah,
I mean, I still carry that around because it's like
still a miracle.
It makes it real, and it makes it enjoyable. Actually,
oh, absolutely,
doesn't it?
Yeah, because then it's just fun. I'm still in the game here.
Yeah.
By the way, something you did recently, I just love. I just want to insert this because I loved Billy Bob Thornton. Everything he does, and I love Goliath, and I love the season where you were the bad guy.
Yeah,
it with Billy Bob Thornton. Did you love that? Because it seemed like you were having a blast.
I had so much.
It's
fun.
almost like a Columbo thing in a way. That you're the bad
Billy
guy.
Billy Bob and I have been friends for 25, 30 years.
Yeah,
he's
in his own frequency, and it's so fun to be around.
We're both very much alike because we're both down at the bottom. We're rednecks. That just happened to break out over here.
And all the dust settles.
He's the ultimate one. He's so smart, and he's so great to work with, and so much fun. It's another way. It's like we were talking about before. It's about the experience you have while you're making it.
Yeah,
and it affects.
So you get to hang out.
It affects your work.
Yeah,
Yeah, when you look back on movies, you go, "Oh, that one was fun," and then you start to appreciate that part because you're usually so looking ahead and just getting through the day and memorizing your lines. You got to stop and say, "This is actually fun being here."
He's like a nonstop poet, basically. Or I ran into him at this photo shoot, and it was for Paramount 100-year anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd never met him. And everyone's there. Streep, just every actor, giant thing. They're taking pictures.
Yeah.
And I get over in the stands. I'm away from everybody. And then he happens to be next to me and he says, "You're the one I wanted to meet." I go, "What the fuck?" And Jerry Lewis is there, and Tom Hanks, and it's just weird. And Trump was just starting to run for president, and he goes, "We got some John Wayne shit going on." Just says all stuff about furniture, and
he gets right to the point.
Quirky.
It did sound like him. That did sound like him.
He is a poet.
It sounds like
when I was hanging out with him, I used to really be able to do them. I need to get a tape and learn how to do them again. Billy Bob, if you're listening, if you want to come on, you can come back on with Dennis.
Dana will work on his
impression. We will cater.
Yes. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it, bud.
Dennis, thank you for coming in with your still looking good, still looking ripped.
So are you, man.
All of us, yeah.
Yeah, we're still here.
Still here. It's very nice.
Let's wax poetic a little bit and be philosophical.
Okay.
Very lucky.
Yeah,
to sum up.
Yes.
Good fortune. Lucky. Still employed.
1,000 points of light.
Moving, shaking, acting, talking, singing, dancing.
Be grateful.
Be grateful. Never get cocky. Don't think you're special. Treat the catering man the same as you would as the lead. I'm just on a roll here. Hold on.
You are.
Keep going. Peaches is there with you too. Right,
I use him to, if I'm feeling anxious, I do him in my head, summing up, making a list of where I am. Here, Spade's mansion, large, not too big, but special. Extra bedrooms, empty. Dennis Quaid. Blade Doc Holiday, Parent Trap, didn't get to it. Another classic. Keeps going round and round.
So you're saying that Bush actually keeps you in the now. He's
calming.
He's your
guru, just make a list of what you're doing. Like, are you going to go fly a plane today, or what are you doing after the podcast? Are you going to wrestle a cow? You're like a cowboy. I always say, when you get past 60 or something, you can be a pirate or a cowboy. A pirate would be
a weekend boater.
No, a pirate would be from the band. Steve. You're gonna get this.
No, we're gonna let you die on the vine.
Oh,
by the way,
from the band. The band.
Steven Tyler is a pirate. Oh, yes.
He's a pirate.
He's got scars.
Yes, you are.
He's a pirate.
Yes, he's a pirate.
He's a pirate. You're a cowboy.
Yeah. I'm a cowboy.
So is Billy Bob.
Billy Bob's
or a redneck.
He's an honorary cowboy.
Well, of all the badasses in Hollywood, who do you look to? Like, if you like, would you like to work with Russell Crowe? Like, you guys would be good to pair up, probably.
I'd like to work with you, Dane.
Yeah,
that's what I'd like to do.
Note to self.
Yeah, in Reagan 2.
Reagan,
you could play Bush.
Can I do a cameo as Ross Perot?
You actually should have come. Yes, you could.
Can I come in on the one?
Fucking Pete.
Can I? Come on, you're not listening. Let me put it this way, Dennis. You can't put a porcupine in the barn, light it on fire, and expect to make licorice. Boom. God love them all.
Love you guys.
Well,
man.
Peaches,
really.
Dennis, really thanks for coming.
I thank you.
It was very
Thanks for coming to the house, and it's great seeing you again, bud.
You too, man.
All right, here we go. Peaches, that's it. That's your cue. This has been a presentation of Audacy. Please follow, subscribe, leave a like, a review, all this stuff. Smash that button, whatever it is, wherever you get your podcasts. Fly on the Wall is executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Jenna Weiss-Berman of Audacy, and Heather Santoro. The show's lead producer is Greg Holtzman.